Hello everyone, Revan619 here. How the devil are you? We're going to be doing something a little bit differently today. Rather than like another video or min-maxing thing, I wanted to talk about the Owlcat Reddit AMA questions and answers that came out recently, because we actually get some insights into the next DLC. So many people had actually come onto this and asked some questions about if they're playing through another CRPG like Dark Heresy, Black Crusade, or Only War, and some other things. Whilst in here they do confirm they are working on some other CRPGs, they also give some hints at what we can expect to see in the in Lex Imperialis. So basically some sneak peek stuff. So they say that there's nothing they can give us yet. It's got a late spring release with more information coming closer to the date, but they add in, do you like Dags? So this kind of implies that cyber Mastiffs are coming. Now, whether it's going to be something unique to the companion in his origin, much like Billa's Bloodspin Web stuff, or it's actually going to be a tier 1 base class is yet to be confirmed. What I'm guessing is going to happen is they're going to add in a new tier 1 base class, which is going to be kind of based around Adeptus Arbiters. So what that's going to be, whether it's going to be like a shield class or a hybrid attacker or a shotgun or area class, because they said they did want to get some focus on some of the weaker stuff like plasmas and flamers, is yet to be seen. So it could be that the tier 1 class is about using summons and dogs, and you can go in and have the abilities to do that, but it would also be accessible by the rogue trader. So I'm guessing it's more likely that the cyber mastiff is going to be an origin, so it's going to be unique to that companion. So they could do a pet system similar to what they had done in Wrath of the Righteous, or it could be something slightly different. Another thing that they confirm, that because they asked, is there any new male romance options coming by male rogue traders, and they said, yep, coming Lex Imperialis. The new Arbiter's companion romance will be available for any gender, so the new male companion is confirmed to be bisexual and human male. One of the other things that come up is, yep, they confirmed this twice, because apparently all Reddit wants to know is if you can be gay. So yes, you can. So kudos to everyone. It means that we finally have, well, for both companions, another Fed to romance. First we had the Imperial Inquisition snitch. Now we've got the cop. So your options are Fed and cop for male romance options. So woo! Yeah, they do like their dogmatic romances, it appears. The other thing that we do have in here as well is they confirm that the DLC will expand the star map bit. So yes, there will be new star systems, namely Lex Imperialis will have a few. So they're basically confirming that they're going to expand the star map. Now, what that means for gearing is going to remains to be seen. One of the other things I noticed, my question actually got in here as well, which I didn't leave on Reddit. I think I actually asked on the forums but it is word for word how I do it. So, is there any plans to update Ulfar's gear options? He is considerably weaker than the other companions, especially since the Xenos allies got access to most of the normal gearing. So this was with 1.3. So I actually asked this like the day of the patch, like, yo, the Xenos are pretty good now. The Space Marine sucks. But yes, they said they're seeing lots of community feedback on this. We're currently reviewing this, and Urlon's itemization, build, and usability in the party, no specific dates on it. So I was directly complaining that Urlon was unfleshed out, and the developer said, well, what's he missing? What do you want? And I was like, boots, helm, gloves. And they're like, well, we can't do anything to change the cosmetic. And I was like, I don't care. Just give him some like default stuff that can't be removed, so he can have like a headpiece that's kind of like Commander's monocle. You can give him some boots. Like, even having the kick option on an officer is pretty good. But what I said is, like, even if you gave him like a default backpack that when he's within a certain tile space of his summoned demons, that makes them stronger. Because at the moment, Urlon just sucks. He has no content in Act 5 when you get him for the final 20 minutes of the game. Some demons are terrible. The way that they actually attack is terrible. I actually put together a little update thing for basically suggestions for the devs, because I'm very, very active on the Discord. So I'm always in there just kind of being annoying and asking stuff and giving suggestions and giving feedback. But one of the things I also did, if we just open up an Excel here, is I actually suggested a bunch of feedback and changes. So this is not confirmed to happen. It doesn't even mean that the team are considering it. It just means that this is stuff that I've suggested. So some of the things for Ulfar that I went through is, I mentioned he has heavy armor, does nothing. I mentioned he has unpredictable. Alpha does count as full cover, so he does use this, but I was like, it doesn't really make sense what his build is using, because it's taking the burst fire ability, so fired up would actually be better suited to there. I mentioned he has combat master, but he's a ranged class, so you don't really need combat master. So I said bolt weapon expert would be better, because you're tending to going to be using a bolt weapon pistol. I said that he gets a random point into awareness, which makes no sense for his other levels, so I said athletics. He takes tenderize, but he doesn't have access to area weapons till Act 4, so I was like, why the hell does he have level 10 tenderize when he can't use it? So I suggested change Rack and Ruin. He took Firearm Mastery 1, which again is a talent so he can move and shoot, but he has that in his origin, so I said, why doesn't he just take Firearm Mastery 3? I mentioned that giving all fire upgrades to his power gloves, to his power boots, and altering his power, his Crusade Plate Helm. Basically, his gloves add nothing to his playstyle, but I said if you gave him an Astartes variant of the Compensator gloves, it would actually allow him to compete with Argenta for damage, because she just massively outperforms him. I said that he needs some sort of boot upgrade in Act 4. I like the 0 AP boot, like kick, but you can't really make it a kick build, so you get one a turn. So I said if you gave him, like, he gains a kick on melee kill, much like how the Void Veteran boots work, that would actually be very, very much better. He gets this Crusader Plate Helm increases heavy weapons by 50%, but stops him critting, so it essentially does nothing for him. So I said if you reduce that bonus down to 20% and allow him to do criticals, that just makes Ulfar 20% stronger. So that's just a flat buff you can do. It's not as strong as Gunslinger's helmet, because with buffs that can go way over 20%, but it makes him competing. I mentioned that his Holy Power Armor is terrible compared to Argenta's Power Armor. I said if you gave him an Astartes version of the Artificer Power Armor, so his burst fires only cost 1 AP, like Player Made Royal Trade could do that and make him much stronger. I mentioned that the Grin of Iron Wolf is a terrible axe reward for his mainline quest, but the Singer of Fearsome Sagas that you get outside the final boss room would be better to have there. I mentioned in 1.3 they added an Astartes Power Sword to the endgame, but I said you need to move that to Act 3 or 4, because it's actually weaker than the Chain Sword that you have at that point. I also pointed out he can only have pistol and melee. Being able to choose between pistol and melee and pistol would actually just be better, because dual pistol with pair holster would actually be really beneficial to Ulfar. And the little mobile game I am playing has people using dual pistols, so it's not like Space Marines don't do that. Talking about Uralon, I mentioned he had Chain Weapon Expert. Can't change his weapon, so I said just give him at least Character Training Fellowship, because he's quite far behind. I mentioned that he has no head, boots or cloak slot that he can use. I mentioned that there's no real trinkets worth giving to him, because they're just bare on Cassia and Jay. So I said that giving him like a unique version of a Commander's Monocle, some Chaos Boots, some like a cloak that helps with stuff like his summoning demons. I just basically went through a load of stuff, and even giving him an ability to direct his demons what targets to attack, because at the moment it's sort of you attack something then they attack something, and it just doesn't work. It's kind of buggy most of the time. So I said just give him a bunch of unique gear that benefits his actual demon summoning mechanic, and maybe flesh it out into more of a mechanic. I mentioned that changing Idra's homeworld would make more sense, because I think she's Imperial World, but she was born on the ship and then never left it, so possibly Voidborn. Argento said currently also Imperial World, changing that to Forge would be useful. I did add a note that I can't remember if they mentioned that they're from Imperial Worlds. I said if they are, obviously don't touch it. If they're not, at least change it. It's like even Cassia, she's got no homeworld. I said give her Imperial or Void. One of the few that would actually benefit from Imperial. Heinrichs, yeah, I said drop defensive maneuvers for rigorous training, because most people are actually building him into heavy armor for Psyker's breastplate, so defensive maneuvers not the best. Jay, I said if you change it from Imperial to Hive World, that would actually make it a little bit more interesting. But again, that comes down to as long as she doesn't mention she's from an Imperial world in the story. She's got Finest Hour upgrade 3. I said add 4, so she stops being a trash officer. I mentioned about giving you unique homeworld to Urilit. Talking about Marazai, talked about trying to get him a unique one as well. And then just sort of changing his base build, because at the moment he uses Elusive Shadow, that's his advantage, bringing Doom, takes the Lord Xenos. And I said that they don't really help for his game plan, so I said changing his stuff for Death Whisper, Lethality Heightened, Deadly Calculations, and just changing that to Cruise like he takes in early levels. That would actually help get his build online first. Cabela takes From the Footsteps of Death. This actually adds nothing to her build. Absolutely nothing, because she's your turn 1 carry. You're not, unless you build her to Assassin. Assassin is a support damage class, so Assassin finishes off targets other things damage, but it can get locked after it attacks. However, I said Death Warden's better because it suits no matter what you go into, you're always going to want to use her Medicaid for critical damage. So I said for all of her paths, Death Ward would be better, so that would be something a little bit better. I was talking about giving Operatives some buffs. So Sharpshooter, it activates at distance of 5 cells. I said just change that to 3. That's just a straight buff to them. Makes it more useful, more usable. Even Pascal can use it. Exploits currently only activate on main turn. I said if you allow them to place exploits on extra turn, massive buff to the class. I was talking about ways to buff Vanguard. So at the moment, Unyielding Beacon is really hard to build up, and it's a very slow mechanic. And unfair, you tend to get dead before you can do anything with it. So I said if you had like each attack or even each counter attack, unbuilding, if that can build up Unyielding Beacon, that would actually improve that, and also increase the range to 3 cells from 2 cells. So it just gives it some bear. Provocation is a single target ability that basically has one enemy attack you. I said make it area based on the Vanguard, so all things adjacent to the Vanguard will attack them, so they can build up Beacon better. I said force distraction, you target an ally. Yeah, it's not very good to have your buffs targeting ally, because why the hell would your allies be up front in front of your Vanguard? It slows down play. I said have it target enemies. Talking about buffs to Assassin, at the moment Death Whisper doesn't end movement, but normal attacks do. And I said just make it so Killing Edge doesn't end movement. That actually makes Assassins more mobile. And Seek the Opening, again, only activates main turn. I said allow it to proc on extra turns, so it will actually give a massive boost to Assassin. For Bounty Hunter, Save the Kill. Basically a random bounty hunter procs it. Yeah, so just make it so that if multiple bounty hunters have it, that you can choose which one gets it. I think I also, not in the spreadsheet, but I did suggest that possibly changing grand strategies. So on that extra first turn at the beginning of the round, that they can only place zones and stratagems. So I said, so that way it stops them being a super OP alpha strikes. At the moment, people just pick grand strategists to go first. That's all they care about. It's actually one of the strongest classes in the game, but no one's actually used any stratagems or talents with it properly. Well, I say no, being facetious here. But yeah, no, if they can only place zones, then that would actually balance them out a lot. Talking about origins, I said some ways to buff Astral Military Commander is have regimental tactics apply to just all enemies, not ones that are just directly next to the commander, because it's kind of silly. Same as shoulder to shoulder, have the damage applied to all enemies, not just when you're next to an ally and an enemy. And stuff like Unflinching Heroism, just give it an ability to restore uses of regimental tactics, because you don't see psychers with that kind of limit. Commissar, I said just add Summary Executioner. Killing enemy should restore a charge. So when allies do it, so when allies use it, that it it restores the use of it. So you've got more than a once per combat ability here. Talking about Crime Lord, Killing Plan, weapon score or ballistic score, whichever is higher, so you're not trying to force an operative into a melee only thing. Escape Plan changed based on perception rather than agility, because that goes with the rest of the class, because again, operatives don't really use agility, so it makes it kind of difficult to use. Cleansing Faith is currently bugged, and it applies to all weapons versus Xenos, but I said that should just be a feature, because priests and special like Sisters of Battle, they tend to inscribe prayers onto every bullet, so it makes sense that it just did that, it would buff it. So I was talking about Brace for Impact on Navy Officer. Make it have a way to regain charges, so it's a little bit more useful. I also mentioned that the Get Off Me upgrade is absolutely fantastic. Please do not nerf that, because for one round it allows you to knock down everything. The other thing I was talking about, Noble, if you have You Serve Me, if it allows stat increases to stack, that'd be a lot stronger. And you do something and you kill it, if they actually apply on your turn and when enemies attack you, not just when you attack enemies, it would make that stronger. The last suggestion I had was very controversial. Warp Perils at the moment has a 5% chance to activate on unsanctioned psychers. In the tabletop, it was a 1% chance just flat out kill any psyker on power. I said basically give a 1% chance to psychers, to like Idra, to activate, because at the moment people think psychers are Jedi, so there's a lot of tourists in this sort of field of games, and they're not. Psychers are dangerous. They're kept locked up because at any time their powers could just have some demons and kill them. I think there should be drawbacks to Psychers. It's the strongest origin by far, and the only reason to take any other origin is purely for roleplay reasons at the moment. So, yeah, let's stop the min-max from being just Psychers only. It'd help with a lot of game balance. But yeah, no, these suggestions, and then obviously, going back to the AMA, this was yeah, we learned some new things. So look forward to Cyber Mastiffs. Look forward to an expanded star map. Look forward to another cop to romance. So yeah, that's all we got today. That's all I wanted to really cover. Just a little talk about some upcoming things to DLC, and let's see what they do with their next future patches. There's also the power armor patch coming, so I'm sure that's going to be the meta path for most builds with that dropping. But we'll have to see. Till next time, Revan out. Have a good one.